Edit audio.
All right, so I have some things to get off my chest. So we are going to do so as I prepare for this meeting that I have in 30 minutes. Hello, and welcome back to the Be Well Sis podcast. I am your host, Dr. Cassandre Dunbar, and today we are doing another episode, another segment of Not Well Sis. Because honestly, we have to be so for real with each other. Things are hard. Things have been hard. And we're not going to act like everything is normal. We're not going to act like everything's honky-dory. And even though things might be in your personal life, I love that for you. Keep going. There is a lot happening in the atmosphere that impacts us. And if it doesn't even if it doesn't impact us personally, it does impact our communities. So we got to talk about it. So I have a meeting in like 40 minutes and I am going to put on a slight face because not only do I have the meeting, but then after that, I have another situation that I have to attend to. So I figure we will do a little get ready with me. So for those of you who are joining on YouTube, welcome. Those of you who are joining via audio, welcome as well. If you don't know, we have been trying to grow our YouTube channel for the past, I'll say past year at least. If you want like a different angle for the podcast, you can go ahead and watch and get the visuals. So you can see me. Typically, I'm like bobbing my head along to what our guests are saying because our guests are just so damn good. And today you can just see me put on my face. I told you guys in the last Not Well Sis episode that one of the things that I do for myself as part of like my little ritual is I try to put on a little something every day in order to like it's like my little ritual. It's my little self-care. It's not much, but it does help me a little bit. It's one of the things that I enjoy doing for myself. So today I wasn't going to that. I remember I looked at my calendar and I was like, oh shoot, I am going to meet with folks today. So let me go ahead and put a little something on. And that is what I am doing now. But like I said, there is a lot happening in the world, and I'm not going to sit here and be phony to you or to myself and act like everything is all good, because it isn't. I'll tell you what's going on a personal front. Personally, it's just been a really hectic year. I shared with you in the beginning of the year that my grandmother passed away, and my grandmother she was a character. She really was. Yeah, she was a character. She was she was one of my first loves. She developed dementia later on in her years. She lived till 94, so she lived a pretty long life, but the last I want to say the last like 5 or 6 years of her life were challenging for her, for us, because of the dementia. If you are somebody who has watched a loved one suffer with dementia, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just a complete change of who they are in so many ways. In some ways, it like brings out the worst in a person, if I'm being completely honest with you. And in some ways, it also challenges you, and it might reveal some things about yourself that you're like, ooh, I could work on that. I could work on my patience. I could work on my compassion and things like that. So yeah, she passed at the top of the year. And from there, the year has just been yearing. This has been one of the wildest winters we've had. I live in North Carolina, and typically it's pretty mild. Our winters aren't real winters. I'm from Jersey originally. I lived in Chicago, so it is nothing close to those winters. But this year, baby, we had a winter. I believe in January, we had a huge snowstorm, one that I have never seen before. And I've lived here for almost 8 years, I think 8 years now. And we had a snowstorm where we accumulated, I think, like over a foot of snow. And that is just unheard of since I have been here. And just in general, that is very, very rare to have that much snow accumulation this far south, right? So that was one thing. And it really impacted the funeral services for my grandmother. My grandmother's services were supposed to be held on a specific date, could not be held because we had the snowstorm. So the funeral home was like, listen, we'll do whatever. But the church said, uh-uh, because I get it, it's a liability. So they canceled church services and they said they're not going to have anything on their property because, again, it's a liability. If somebody slips and falls in the parking lot, like they didn't want that smoke. And I get it. So we pushed the funeral back. We had people coming in from other states, other countries. That was difficult, but we had to do what we had to do. We had really no other choice. And then burial ground, we could not bury her for some weeks. So we ended up having the funeral 2 weeks after the original date, which was like 3 weeks from when she passed. So much longer than we had planned, we had anticipated. And then the funeral home was just like, listen, we can't, break the ground. We can't bury her because the ground is solid. So we had to push that back. So typically you have your funeral service and the burial on the same day. And that was not what we were able to do because of the circumstances. So that was January. We finally were able to have our service. The service it wasn't as packed as we had anticipated, but we knew what was going to happen because of the situation. People had to change flights and people work and have families and all the things. So it wasn't as well attended as it would have been originally. And then we had the service one day, burial another day, and my grief was like interrupted / prolonged / barely processed because my mom was going through it. My mom is an only child to her mother. I'm an only child to my mother too. And even though she was like, she has been preparing for this, when it came, it was just overwhelming for her. And I get it, I understand. But that left it mostly on me to do the planning. And yeah, I wasn't prepared to plan per se. So I put my grief on hold in order to let's do this, right? So that was January into February. And then from there, February was just stressful too, because, in the midst of all of the things, I have kids, I have work, and those things have their own challenges as well, especially the parenting part. So I try my best to be a present mom, a good mom to them and give them what they need. Like, yes, physically and, materially, but like also emotionally. And sometimes it is so hard. It is so, so hard as I am raising my oldest who is neurodivergent. There is so much regulation that I have to do for myself in order for me to be able to properly attend to him. And when I'm in the midst of my grief, when I'm in the midst of like my normal hiccups, like life things, stressors because of life, because of work, and then he comes along and with really big emotions and it's hard. I've just been having such a hard time. And yeah, we do a lot of talking, and he has a great medical team. We found some really solid people who really are invested in his well being, but it has been so, so hard. And I realize that I just need to give myself much more grace than I do. If you were talking to me and tell me what you're experiencing with your child and the school system, girl, the school system. I try so hard to be a partner to the school system, and they barely want to partner with me. And that is so frustrating. And what really pisses me off too is when I look online, a lot of times online, the educators are saying how the teachers, not the teachers, but the parents ain't shit. And they don't, they don't want to be part of their child's education, yada, yada, yada. And that's what I largely see online. And I'm just like, whatever, I keep it pushing because that's not me. Right. And as an educator, yes, I'm a college educator myself. I don't put blame on people because the whole system is fucked up. But anyway, so that has been a struggle too. In order for him to get his accommodations met, my boy is absolutely brilliant. And I say that as someone, I consider myself to be smart, but he is so much smarter than I was at his age. His brain goes like so much faster, moves so much faster than mine does. Like the way he computes is incredible. The way he remembers things is incredible. But he has ADHD. So he has a hard time, maintaining focus. That's his main thing. Behaviorally, he's fine. Like, he is a really good kid, like really, really kind. He has a really good heart. He wants to get along with folks. Does he interrupt when you're talking? Sure. He's also 11. Does he get excited and blurt out answers? Yep, sure. He's working on it, but he's not disrespectful. He's not argumentative type of kid. He's a good kid. But what I found is that when you're open with people and you tell them that, hey, heads up, he does have ADHD, that there is a prejudgment, especially when it's a Black boy. The idea from what I pick up, it's like they think that he's a troublemaker and that he's not intelligent and all of these things. And at the beginning of the year, I shared with the teachers that he has ADHD. And in order to prepare them to fix his seating, he needs to be up front. No distractions but the board. Like, just the board's in front of him and maybe the teacher, so the teacher can like redirect him. But the vibe that I got was like, oh, your kid's going to be a handful. And my kid is not a handful, no more than any other typical 11-year-old. At the top of this year, I've also had to be at the school and have more meetings than I honestly cared to have. Caring meaning I don't like meetings, but also it's my responsibility, it's my duty. So if my kid is not getting what they need, I will be there. My husband will be there. We take their education very, very seriously. And we want to, like I said, be partners with the education system. So when things weren't going the way that we needed them to go for him in terms of his education, there were things that were completely out of our control because we are not there with him. We're not present in the classroom with him. So we had to show up several times and have several different meetings and get several different administrators involved. And that is just so taxing. Sometimes my sleep isn't right just because of life and because of, the hormonal changes, child. And when you are running on fumes because you did not get enough sleep and you're also grieving and you are fighting to get your child what they need, and you are in a different role this semester. So I'm doing a fellowship. If you follow me on threads and things, I mentioned it like last year when I got it. I just was overwhelmed. Going into the beginning of this year, I was so optimistic about like, you know what? This is going to be the year. You know what I mean? Like, Cass, you put in the work, you've been diligent, you keep showing up and things are going to work out for you. And so far, that has not been the case. I'm not saying that everything is terrible, but things have been really, really hard. One of the things that I'm kind of struggling with right now is I feel like I have been putting in the work. I'm not afraid of work. I'm okay to pull up my sleeves and get shit done. But it comes to a point where it's like, okay, I'm doing the things and I am not reaping the rewards, what are supposed to be the rewards, right? It's so frustrating. Yeah, I'm at a point where I'm like, the pace that I live at, and I've said this before, the pace that I live at is just not sustainable. I was watching this TikTok. Stumbled upon this TikTok, and this girl was talking about all the things that her mother did that she appreciates, and examples of her mother being a high effort parent. So she's running off the things that her parent did, and she's probably like in her early 20s, I think, from what I gathered. She might be in college or maybe just graduated. So she was saying that her mom was a high effort parent, and she was running down the list of all the things that her mom did and that were norms in her house. And I was just like, well, damn, then I too am a high effort parent, which I have no problem being because I always remind myself and I tell my kids, I literally prayed for my kids. Before I got married, when we were having our, pre-marital discussions, one of the things that I was very honest about was, listen, I don't know if I'll be able to have children. My mother had a difficult time having me, so I thought maybe that might be my situation as well. So Is that a game changer for you? Talking to my then fiance. When it was time when we decided, let's go ahead and try for babies, I didn't know what that journey would look like. And I literally prayed so hard for both of my kids. So with that being said, I'm happy to be a high effort parent because I literally prayed for them. And I told God that I would do all that I could to be a great present parent and to be a good steward of what He had given me. So with that being said, it is still very, very tiring. Being a high effort parent requires a lot of energy that sometimes I don't have. I'm not complaining, I'm being honest. And a lot of the times I find myself not being honest with myself because I don't want to complain, right? I grew up in a situation where if you speak your truth, and if that truth ain't everything is shiny and rosy, then that's a problem. So if you are feeling like you are in a similar situation where things aren't working out the way that you had anticipated them to work out, and if you feel like you are just drawing from a damn near empty well, baby, I see you. I feel you. And I wish I had a solution. One of the things that I try to come with are solutions. I hate finding out the problem about something or finding out a problem and not having a solution or sharing a problem without a solution. I guess one of the many solutions is to find something for you every single day. I think as parents, we're so quick to make time for everybody else and everything else. And we don't put ourselves at the same level or at the same level of priority as everything else in our life. And we absolutely deserve to be well taken care of. The same effort that I put into my children, I need to put into myself. If I put in a fraction of the effort that I put into my kids, into myself, I would be in a much better situation. So if you're struggling with guilt in like, what, I ain't got the time or whatever, you have to remind yourself that your children, your community, your workplace, your partners, your family, your friends, they're going to reap the benefits of you caring for yourself first. One of the reasons I started this podcast was because I did not know what it meant to take care of myself, especially at the time I was a parent to a toddler and to a newborn. And just trying to figure that out while also trying to be a good partner to my husband who had pretty recently lost his mother unexpectedly. I just didn't know how to do it. I felt so much guilt in just doing for myself. So I didn't. And my therapist was just like, baby, you are not going to survive like this. So I started a podcast because this was a way for me to step out of the role of being a parent and a wife and a daughter and a caregiver and all of those things, and just being able to be myself. And for the past few years, I know sometimes I may lament about how things are not the way that I wanted them to be in terms of like where I am in the podcast space. But the reason that I keep showing up is because I get to speak to really incredible women. It's funny how things work out because sometimes I show up to these recordings like it's the middle of the day. I may have just had a ridiculous meeting or just come across an email that makes no damn sense. And I'm feeling away, right? Or I'm just really tired because I didn't get a good night's sleep. And I show up to the interview with like hoping to put my best self forward and hopeful of what the conversation will be. And I always get so much more than I anticipated. And that's why I have been consistent with podcasting. And then I also love getting feedback that the same way that I was like truly blessed and enlightened by something that the guest said, that somebody else also received that. So that is why I have continued to go. But I won't lie to you and act like the things that I've been grieving, one of the things have been this podcast. When we talk about grief, we're not only grieving people, but we're also grieving situations. maybe lost jobs, failed businesses, relationships, although the person may still be on this planet, but like the relationship had, fizzled, fallen apart, whatever. We also grieve those things too. And one of the things that I am kind of grieving as, we are in our 6 years of this podcast. And again, I've learned so much. I've grown so much from podcasting, and just showing up in the space. Again, the women that I get a chance to speak to is just, they're incredible. Every single one of them has left an imprint on me. Oh, this eyeshadow is kind of cute. It's barely there, but it's cute. But also, I look around at the landscape and the effort that I put into this, I have not received the return. And I'll take another step further. There is somebody that I had a really great conversation with yesterday. By the time this goes out, I think you already heard the conversation, but I've always been so inspired by her. She has taken a community and turned it into a whole like metaverse of things, a beautiful ecosystem. And though we're not directly in the same like lane per se, like we're adjacent to each other, I look to her and I'm just like, oh, she's been able to do so much. And I feel like in this, she's been doing it longer than I have, but in the time frame that I've been doing it in the 6 years, it just doesn't feel like I've been able to really make the impact that I wanted to make. Saying it out loud, even to you, is a lot. But I have to get used to being honest because I'm not always honest. I will say things are good when really inside I am falling apart or I'm just really heartbroken. So I think right now I'm in the space of feeling a wee bit heartbroken. And I'm asking myself, what is next, if anything? You know, my kids are getting older. And in some ways, they need less of me, but in other ways, they need more of me. Because who's a chauffeur? You know what I mean? Like if they have music lessons and sports practices and social outings, like it's between me and my husband to take them where they need to go. And also, I need to be present. My oldest is in middle school, and this school year is just about over. We're just about at the finish line, right? And I just want to make sure that I am present. And the way that life is for me right now, I will be so for real with you. I have a full-time job, you know that I'm a professor, and I also have a side gig. My side gig still is in education, so I, create content for nursing students. That takes up a lot of time, and I tutor as well. And again, it takes up a lot of time. And then I also have this podcast, right? So oftentimes my kids, when they come home, I have a bite with them. I may help them with their homework. And then I'm right back in this office. And this does not feel good. This is not the life that I designed for myself. Constantly working, it ain't it. Like, what is the point? Like, this cannot be it. And I look and I'm like, my oldest is 11, my youngest is 7. 7 years from now, this cannot be how I am continuing to live my life. So something has to change. And I have to look in the mirror and be so for real with myself. Like, what is it that I have to change about myself and about how I approach things to make things better? Yes, the economy is what it is. Yes, the kids need what they need. I need what I need, things of that nature. But also, like, I cannot continue to live at this pace. I just don't see it for myself. 5 years from now, continuing like this is no, God, no. So this is more of a vent session, okay? Not well, sis, because sis is not well. I'm just really tired of everything. And I think about how it could be so simple, like we are on a planet that we are literally designed for. The planet has everything that we need to sustain ourselves. Yet, you and I got to be clocking in, okay? From 9 to 5, and then sometimes from 5 to 9 after that. And it's like, my God, like this cannot be it. The culture that we live in, this work centric culture, is not for me. Where I'm at is not unique. As I look around the landscape, a lot of us are in similar situations. Over 300,000 Black women lost their jobs since this regime was instated. And I feel that number is on the lower end. So I say all that to say that my story is not unique, unfortunately. If you are, I can only imagine that you may be experiencing something similar. And all I ask is that we take care of ourselves as much as possible. I've said this before, and I'm going to continue to say it until it sticks. Sticks for you and for me. It's so important to take care of ourselves. There has to be something that we do to replenish, because the moment we get up, the world is extracting, is taking from us, and we have to refill. So meditation, prayer, gentle movement, or even if you need to twerk in the mirror, do that. Reconnect with family, with friends. We have to take care of ourselves and then take care of each other. That's all I got. Next time I come to you, I'm going to have something a little bit more formal. I want us to talk about brain health, because I've been on a brain health kick because your girl thought she was falling apart. And I know I'm not the only one, because of the way that life is happening for all of us, right? If you have not left us a rating and a review, please do, over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Spotify has a great feature where you are able to actually chat. So in the episode, you can leave a comment about the episode. So if this resonates with you, please leave a comment over in Spotify. If there is a particular wellness practice that you do to replenish yourself, you have a ritual that you want to share that might be helpful to me or to somebody else, please go ahead and drop that over in Spotify. And then we are also on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, hello, and thank you for staying for the end. Please go ahead and drop a comment. I love to engage with you guys. Again, one of the things that really brings me joy and makes my heart sing and keeps me on this spinning rock is when I interact with you guys, hearing what you guys are up to and what you all are doing. So it is my highest vision for Be Well Sis to be a real community. In person is a thing, but I don't want to discount the fact that some people really have been able to cultivate really beautiful, meaningful relationships online. And some people have different barriers where being in person is not possible. So again, I would love for us to become more of a community here. I'm at Instagram at BeWellSis_podcast. If you send me a DM, I read every single one of them. I respond. Leave us a message out in the comments and all of those good things. As always, thank you so much for joining. I am always so glad that you're here, and continue to pour into yourself and Be Well Sis. Thank you for listening to this episode of Be Well Sis. If you'd like to get in touch with us, there's a link in the show notes. Be Well Sis is hosted by me, Dr. Cassandre Dunbar, and produced by Edit Audio. Don't forget to hit follow so you never miss an episode. Until next time, Be Well Sis.